What's up, softball players? Coach Dan Blewett here. Today I want to discuss some of the content you see in my channel, who it's appropriate for, who it's not appropriate for, the age range and the skill ranges for different stuff you're going to see here on YouTube. So one of my goals is to put out good content on the web that's going to help sort of the general population. I never know who I'm making a video for exactly. A lot of times it's just a concept that maybe fits for one player and maybe fits for another. So in my last video, I discussed feed throws to second base. So if you're a second baseman or you're a shortstop, you might get a hard hit ground ball right at you, and you might quickly throw to second base from usually a sidearm position because you're kind of staying down and you're not moving your feet, and it makes the most sense. It's really the most efficient way to go sidearm in some situations. Now, I got a comment about this, which I'm always happy. I respond to every comment within reason. You're always welcome to comment on my videos. And so I wanted to address one of the comments that said this is basically inappropriate for most players unless you're a college age player. Sidearm throws are unreliable. And a lot of that's somewhat accurate, but also partly or mostly inaccurate. So here's the thing that I really want to stress with the development of athletes, not just softball players, but athletes in general. If you only allow them to do the easy thing in games, they're only going to know how to do the easy thing in games. Sidearm throws and throws on the run, those really difficult ones, those take practice. So with my baseball team, I was the head coach of a baseball team. I owned a baseball academy, and I worked with softball players, but also was a head coach of our baseball teams. All those tough throws that you see infielders make, that you see them make with ease on TV, they didn't just learn that in the game for the first time. Those guys and the high-level softball players in college, they learn those concepts by doing them over and over and over in practice. So those really tough throws, if you try that for the first time in a game, you're probably going to throw it into the bleachers and embarrass yourself. Or you're going to throw it in the bleachers and your coach is going to scream at you and say, get it the easy way. Throw it overhand the way we taught you. Don't make this throw. It's unreliable. Everything's unreliable the first time you do it. So when you're talking about what should I take from Dan's throwing channel, what should I practice, what should I do in games, you're gonna have to learn the higher level concepts in practice first. So if you watch one of my videos and you're 12 years old and you think, that seems a little advanced, I'm not sure I can do that. Well, don't do it in a game first. Do it in practice, work on this stuff, and maybe in a year, or maybe in 6 months, or maybe in 1 month, you never know, you feel pretty confident and you can make that play in the game because you've made it so many times in practice. So the big takeaway here is I don't want you to shy away from things because it's too advanced. Ultimately, any player can do any of the things that you see in the College World Series. You could watch the Women's College World Series. If you're 12 years old, you could make all those same plays. You're just not gonna be as big and fast and strong and maybe as accurate as those older players, but you could physically do all those same things that they do. I want you to really let that sink in. Any softball player of almost any age, if they have the coordination, they practice enough, they can do almost any of those actions that you see on TV. So I've worked with like young baseball players, young softball players who have very good throwing mechanics, pitching mechanics, hitting mechanics, and they're 12 years old, they're 8 years old, they're 10 years old, whatever. They're still doing most of the things that the big leaguers, the D1 softball players, the pro baseball guys, they're doing all the same things that they're doing. They're just in a small package. They don't produce as much force, so they throw the ball 60 instead of 90, right? So when you watch my videos, take them with a grain of salt. Ask yourself, does this apply to me? But also ask yourself, why can't I do this? And usually there's not going to be a good reason. Now, if your throwing mechanics are a wreck, and I know I talk mostly about throwing mechanics on my channel, if your throwing mechanics are a wreck, then yeah, we want to work on the fundamentals first and clean your overhand throwing up first. But if your throwing mechanics are pretty good, then it might be completely within your reason to say, okay, and I have another video on this as well about when to use different arm angles. It might be completely within your right to say, okay, I'm pretty good up here. Let's learn to throw down here. Let's learn to throw down here. Let's learn to throw on the run. Let's learn to do the tough stuff and practice a lot so when I'm in a game, I can do that. Or let's do it today because I'm 14 so that when I'm 17, this is going to be a no-brainer. It's going to be on autopilot. That's the goal for all this stuff. And as a coach, I don't want you to get into this mindset where, yeah, we're struggling to throw the ball across the diamond or whatever. So we're always just going to do it the easy way. Let your athletes be athletes. When you're running around, I mean, imagine you're a football quarterback. If you only let your football quarterback stand in one place, shuffle in one place, and throw to the same receiver who's never moving, he's never going to get better at hitting moving targets, right? So at some point, you have to let even little kids move around, throw to someone on the run, and they get better at doing it because they're doing it. There's no difference in baseball, and there's no difference in softball. Let your athletes be athletes and have them make some tough plays. Have some fun with it. So one of the things I did with my baseball guys is that when they did their throwing routine and they did all the drills first, they were very regimented at first because routine is very important and professionalism and discipline is very important. Once they got through all the stuff, the core stuff that I want them to do, and I have throwing routines for all of our softball players in my online courses. It lines up good throwing routines. But at the end of those throwing routines, it's basically what I call garbage time or improv time, where you don't need to do a drill. You just need to move your feet, run to your right, throw to your left, run at your target, throw on the run. Make a throw as if you're fielding one from the outfield. You're being a cutoff man. You're going to throw the plate. Do things you're going to do in a game. Do the hard stuff out there in the outfield while you're warming up. Because if you make 10 of those throws a day, times 5 games a week in the summer, times 10 weeks in the summer, right? That's 500 throws right there. That's a lot of throws. And then you multiply that by a couple of years, you've got thousands and thousands of throws that you were working on just from those 10 that you did in pregame. So don't pigeonhole yourself. Don't keep yourself in this box. Be an athlete, move your feet, move around, throw the ball. You can throw softballs, you can throw tennis balls, you can throw baseballs, you can do whatever you want. So when you watch my channel, make sure you understand that I'm putting information out there. It might apply to a 17-year-old, it might apply to an 8-year-old. If you have a question, leave me a comment. I'll tell you what I think it applies to best. But also just think about, could I do this? Pretty much any player could do anything on my channel. I don't really differentiate like high and low level. There are some drills that I would do with a pro baseball guy that I would do with a 10-year-old softball girl. It's not because they're so complex, like that's not really how I operate. So again, I appreciate you watching, and I think this clarification can be helpful for some of you coaches who are thinking like, okay, I've gotten a lot of good free info from Dan's channel. How do I implement it? What's okay, what's not? At the end of the day, experiment with it. Very little of this stuff is going to be, dangerous to anyone. It's still just throwing. It's not that big of a deal. And so when we talk about all these higher level techniques and when to use it, how much to do of it, just experiment. Go out and try stuff. It's just like playing in the backyard. It's just like going and playing wiffle ball. Just go do these things, especially if they're harder. Practice them, and you might find that you can actually do them in a game. All right. Thanks for watching. I hope you continue to enjoy my videos. Leave me comments below. If you ever have questions about my stuff, I'm always available. I promise I'll respond, and I'll see you in the next one.